Do you think your choices are truly yours, or do you sometimes wonder whether everything is already mapped out for you? Understanding whether free will is an illusion or a reality can change the way we approach our decisions and our life overall. In this episode, I will share the results of a poll that I had taken on the very same question. We'll also look at the concept of free will through the eyes of Western philosophers, through a teaching from the Bhagavad Gita, and through cricket. Yes, cricket. Finally, I'll share wisdom and teachings from the scriptures and from the Buddha on how we can improve the quality of our own actions and our lives in the process. I have spent hours studying the perspectives of philosophers on this topic. I've had spirited discussions with Cloud, a Gen AI tool, to challenge and refine my own perspectives and thinking. And in this episode, I have condensed all of those into takeaways that will help you navigate through your life better. So, if you're ready to explore the depths of free will and understand and discover how it applies to you in your life, let's get started. First, the poll results. I asked the YouTube community whether free will is an illusion or a reality. Can you guess what they said? Well, more than 70% of voters said that free will is an illusion. And isn't that interesting? I mean, we want freedom in our lives, and yet we believe that we are not free in our actions. Why is that? Well, philosophers, scientists, and theorists of all kinds have debated this question for centuries. They wonder whether we would change our choices if we could go back in time. They believe that our actions are useless because modern science knows us better than we know ourselves. So we are just helpless in the hands of manipulative marketers and product designers. And fate is the most devious and the biggest designer of this product called life. Or they say that what you and I have, or whatever anyone has, is just a matter of luck, which I think is a gentle way of saying that you and I are mere chess pawns in the hands of a grandmaster that nobody has ever seen. You know what these discussions do to my brain? They just melt it. Because I can't understand how to apply it. I mean, if I am struck by a poisonous arrow, do I want to take the arrow out first, or do I want to sit and discuss who is the maker, who is the shooter, what their intentions are, and so on? Likewise, if I go to a mango orchard, do I want to have learned discussions on the trees and the branches and the leaves, or do I want to eat the mangoes? So I will keep the metaphysics out of this discussion as much as possible, and instead try to look at the question of free will through the context of our daily lives. For most people, free will means I should not be influenced in my thoughts or my actions by anything, or I should be allowed to have control over my actions and the consequences. And at the other extreme, people will say, oh, everything is predestined, right? So whatever I do, there is no right or wrong. There are 50 shades of gray, there is this, there is that, because that's what God wants in the end. Is there a correct answer? Let's try to address this dilemma or this trilemma or any ma through the game of cricket. In it, the batsman can hit a scoop shot over the wicketkeeper's head. He can flick a ball from outside off stump to over fine leg. Or he could play the switch hit, switching between left-handed and right-handed. The thing is that none of these shots existed until a few years ago. They were invented by batsmen who wanted to become more effective. Also, the batsman does not decide to play these shots on a whim. He will consider a lot of factors like the bowler, the pitch, the team, and other aspects. And finally, the batsman knows that his gamble may not pay off and he could get out. Now imagine the batsman was just standing at the crease and saying everything is predestined. Do you think the bat would swing itself to hit the ball? Also imagine there were no rules and regulations in the game of cricket. What kind of matches do you think we would see? Briefly speaking then, players' creativity is their own choice. Their efforts will lead to results, and yet they know that their actions could either succeed or fail based on a lot of influencing factors, the biggest one among which are the rules of the game. This cricket analogy ties with a teaching from the Bhagavad Gita that talks about the 5 factors that determine our success or failure. They are Karta, who is the doer, Karanam, the instruments being used, Adhishthanam, place, time and approach, Cheshta, different activities and processes, and Daivam, or destiny. Like the game of cricket, everything in the cosmos is governed by rules and laws called Rita. Adhering to our respective Ritas is the dharma of every entity. But unlike other entities who have no option but to adhere to their dharma, human beings can choose. For instance, the earth can't stop spinning, neither can my heart stop beating for 20 minutes because they're bored. Meanwhile, I can choose whether I go to work or not even when I'm healthy. Maybe I'm bored, maybe there's a concert that I want to attend. Now, whether I attend a concert, whether I go to work, or whether I even tend to this dilemma depends upon me. And my actions or my thoughts are generally governed by 3 aspects. my dominant gunas between Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva at that time, my karma, which means my previous actions, and my swabhav, my nature. My actions will lead to outcomes, and even how I respond to those outcomes is my choice. For instance, I could get upset if my boss threatens to fire me when he finds out that I attended the concert and skipped work in the process. But in that case, I would be what Nietzsche calls a pale criminal. I don't mind breaking the law, but I shrink and cower when it comes to paying the price. Or I could just resign to whatever happens in life. Oh, this happened to me. What can I do about it? I'm so helpless. Finally, I can accept what happens. Okay, this happened. What should I do next? Honestly, the third choice is the best because it means that as a karta, I can use karanam, adhishthanam, and cheshta to give my best to a situation. And the results I can leave to Daivam because such is the cosmic Rita. Trying to argue with the cosmic Rita is like a batsman who's standing in the center of a pitch and saying, I am not out even though I've been bowled. It's silly, right? Besides, when I can imbibe this, then I know that I can give a situation my best, I can accept the results that come, and I can work towards getting better outcomes. You know what this reminds me of? A part of a play called The Cocktail Party. In it, there's a woman who's speaking to her psychiatrist. She's talking about her deep unhappiness and suffering, and she says she hopes it's her fault. The psychiatrist is stunned. What do you mean? He asks. And she says that if it is her fault, then she can do something to fix it. But if it's basically God's desire, if reality itself is flawed, hell-bent on making her miserable, then she is doomed. She has no choice. She cannot change the structure of reality, but she probably can do something to improve her life. How is this relevant to you and me today? Let's take social media and technology. Yes, these devices are designed to make us addictive, but does that mean that we have to be passive consumers? No, we can choose to actively engage by identifying our psychological triggers, by setting boundaries, and deciding to use social media and technology as per our goals, thus utilizing our free will in the process. Okay, this leads to another question. Yeah, I know, questions on questions on questions, but I like to ask a lot of questions because that allows us to look at a concept or a philosophy from various angles. The other question is, I understand what you're saying, Vishal, but how do I go about accepting outcomes, especially the ones that are not in my favor? It's one thing to know that I should make better choices, but how do I build the discipline to do that? And how do I move from impulsive reactions to intentional responses? That is a very good question, and the answer lies in training. See, struggle is an inherent part of our lives. Whenever we have to grow, we have to struggle. Think about the first time you went to the gym. You struggled to drag yourself outside the door. At the gym, you struggled to pick up 10 pounds, your muscles pained, your body pained. Even when you came back home, you had to change diets. There was so much to do. Here's the thing though, if you stuck through that struggle, you didn't just become fitter. All kinds of witchcraft happened. You became less stressed, you became more productive and patient, and you improved your spending and your eating habits. And this has been proved in research. The same thing happens with your career choices, with financial freedom. If you want to grow, if you want to become better, you have to struggle. Heck, even the convenience that we're enjoying today as compared to our ancestors who were hunter-foragers is a result of struggle. What I'm getting at is that everything you need to do in order to grow is a result of struggle. So how do you embrace this positive struggle? How do you develop sattva or balance? Through the practice of indriya nigraha. Indriyas are our tools of knowledge and action. They include the mind and the senses of sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, hearing, and motor organs for holding things, for movement, excretion, speaking, and reproduction. Nigraha means restraining these organs rather than letting them run scot-free. Reining in our sense objects doesn't mean killing our desires. It means to control our lower impulsive self, our blind animalistic tendencies that are causing so many of the mental health issues today. We control our bad habits and tendencies and direct our senses towards better, reason-driven purposes. I have already spoken about my practices when it comes to Indriya Nigraha in this video. They are physical exercise, breathing exercises, and dispassion for self, passion for everything else. So I won't go into the details of those. You can check out the video for it. What I will talk about though is the eightfold paths to liberation that Buddha teaches us. It is right views, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Before we look at this chain, remember that what Buddha teaches us is not an overnight activity. It's a long journey and it's going to take time to get there. With that in mind, let's look at each of these points in a little more detail. Having the right views is the first step towards reformation. Any view that can help us reform ourselves is a good starting point. But knowledge is useless if we will not use it to make ourselves better. That's why the Buddha teaches that anyone who wants the right determination or resolve should practice three aspects: renounce attachment, give up ill will, and refrain from harming others. Such kind of right resolve should drive our speech. We should refrain from lying, slander, unkind words, and frivolous talk. But right resolve and determination does not stay at speech. It should extend into our actions also. And that is where the Panchashil comes in, or the five vows of desisting from killing, stealing, lying, sensuality, and intoxication. Next comes right livelihood. We should earn our livelihood through honest means. Even for maintaining our lives, we should work with consistency and discipline rather than resorting to forbidden means. Then there is right effort. Our progress will keep getting obstructed until we can remove existing evil thoughts and prevent new ones from rising. So we must always fill our minds with good ideas and retain them. And this constant attempt is what right effort means. If you take a pause and you think about everything that's happening inside and around us, you will notice the relevance and the significance of these teachings. The final two are right mindfulness and right concentration. In right mindfulness, one must keep reminding themselves of what they've learned and that they are not the body, the senses, the desires, or the mindsets. None of this is me. Finally comes right concentration. When you have taken all the above steps, then the mind will be unruffled. In that case, it will be able to focus and investigate the truth, which is going to lead to joy that comes from concentration. This is the first stage of meditation. In the second stage, the mind starts letting go of that joy also. In the third stage comes equanimity of the body, of the mind, and ease. And finally comes the fourth stage, where we even let go of this equanimity to find perfect ease of the body without any pain. As mentioned earlier, this sounds impossible today, but it's a natural progression. Like our body grows from a toddler to an adult. The aim is not to become an adult overnight, but it is to take one step at a time and to let nature take its course alongside. To bring it all together, free will exists, but within the confines of the cosmos. Like in cricket, you stand a better chance of winning if you understand the rules rather than resisting them. So train yourself to respond according to time, space, and situation rather than mentally clinging onto objects. This will improve your gunas, your swabhav, and your karma. This is a difficult journey. You won't get there overnight. This is a long journey which could take many lifetimes as well, but trust me, it's a pleasant one. What are your thoughts on free will? Do you think it's an illusion or a reality? And what were your thoughts on all the discussions made here? Why don't you leave a comment so that we can have a more spirited discussion as well? And until next time, namaste.